Once you have the cabinets level, you can then see whether the wall is out of square or not, which in our case it is. You've got over 10 millimeters of run out over the height of these units. Many houses have exactly this. So to try and help with that, we send the infill panels and the end panels oversized to allow you to cut them on site to get a perfect fit so that you don't have gaps on your fitted furniture. The first thing that we are going to need to do is cut the infill to the right length for the ceiling height. The way we supply our infills is to fit behind the plinths. So as long as we are above this line here and below this line here, you've got quite a bit of leeway. So I'll measure that now. Cool. So we're going to transfer that measurement of 2250 onto our panel. And we are going to trim it to length. So next we're going to take our measurements to cut the panel to a rough width. This is just one method of cutting your infill panels, but it is one that works. So what we're going to do is measure from the wall to the inside edge of the unit, and we want to find the smallest measurement on the run that we have. So starting up here. So we are 44 millimeters. We're going to cut the entire strip to. If you have a darker colour of board, it can be easier to put some paper masking tape on the panel in order to be able to see the mark clearly. So I'm just going to do that now. Now that we've marked it off, we're just going to use a straight edge to connect the marks we made. So I've marked out my guideline now on the panel, and I'm going to cut along that line to get me the piece ready to scribe to the wall. I'm using a circular saw. You can also use a jigsaw or a table saw. Both the circular saw and the jigsaw can be bought from most hardware stores for around £40. The most important thing is to have a laminate cutting blade with fine teeth on, which again are around £10 or £15, and will give you a nice clean cut. So now that we've cut the piece that we want off, this is an off-cut piece. We purposely make them quite wide so that if you do make a mistake when cutting it, you do have enough to have at least another attempt at it without having to purchase any more or delay the install. So, offering up with the edged side facing towards the cabinets, as we know that's the most perfectly straight side, we're going to see that the skirting in the room is getting in our way. Now when the bottom plinth sits on here, we can see that it'll cover the skirting. So we can just take a rough cut around at skirting height and just chop that piece out to make it fit into the space, which we'll do now. Now that we've cut the infill to match the width to the inside edge of the unit, we're going to hold it in place so that we can mark off exactly the shape and the curvature of the wall, so that we can then slot it inside the gap in here once we've cut it to the wall shape. So to do that, I'm just going to take these pieces of tape, hold it nicely against the edge of the cabinet, try and keep them nice and tight, and we're going to tape it in a few places along the way, keeping it flush with the inside edge. Then I'm going to take a pair of compass that you can lock off. I've already preset these to exactly 18 millimeters, which is the width of the side of the cabinet, which is what we need to remove off here against the wall. So taking the point against the wall and the pencil against our panel, we're just going to trace down exactly against the wall. So now I'm just going to cut along the line that I've marked. Depending on how far out your wall is, you may be better with a jigsaw for this rather than a circular saw. So before we can fix our infill into place that we've just cut, we need to drill some pilot holes 9 millimeters back from the front edge of the wardrobe, so that we're half the thickness of the piece itself. So I've already marked them off. Just going to quickly drill the pilot holes in. So now that we've got our pilot holes drilled and our piece cut to size, we can slot it into the gap. If it's a little bit tight, just sand it down slightly, because you are going to cover any gaps and chips with decorator's cork later. Try and make sure it's perfectly flush with the front of the wardrobe. And then use 40mm screws to secure it into place.